Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this Tech Talk webcast on how to deploy containerized applications in a hybrid cloud environment. My name is Carlos Santa Gadea. I am a Senior Product Manager for Amazon Elastic Containers Group. Happy to be with you today. Today, we'll cover a handful of topics related to working in hybrid environments. We'll go through the landscape of services that we offer at AWS for this use case. I'll dive a bit deeper into our world of containers and talk about ECS Anywhere, our solution for running containers in a hybrid environment. And then we'll close by sharing some customer examples and use cases and take as many questions as we can fit at the end of this hour. So let's start by talking about this world of managing hybrid environments and some of the pain points that are associated with it. Ultimately, as you take a step back and look at your environment, your choices of compute are never just about the compute service. It's also about the platform where it will run and the options that are available to you. And now at AWS, we've really got you covered. Whether it's event integrations or application mesh, it's all natively integrated. And for customers who want to run containers in AWS, they have to make a few choices. First, they choose whether or not they want to manage servers. So that's servers on your data center, so servers at the edge, or any sort of edge compute form factor. When they choose AWS, they can choose AWS Fargate if they want serverless compute for containers, and Amazon EC2 if they need control over the installation, configuration, and management of their compute environment. The next choice they'll make is which container orchestrator to use. And here they can choose between Amazon Elastic Container Services, or ECS, Amazon Elastic Kubernetes Services, or EKS, or Red Hat OpenShift Service at AWS, also called ROSA. Now, from the container service team, one of the most common requests we'll hear from customers is, please help me decide which container service to use. And our recommendation is that most teams should begin by selecting a container solution with the attributes that are most aligned to the application requirements or operational preferences. Now, when you go to the next layer, and in the slide you can see a few of the provisioning options we have for your applications. Whenever you choose an AWS infrastructure, you have support for a broad array of compute options and deep integration with other AWS services, which provide the global scale and reliability that customers have come to expect from AWS. What customers tell us they love most about Amazon ECS is the simplicity it provides. Amazon ECS delivers an AWS opinionated solution for running containers at scale. On EKS, Amazon EKS allows customers to take advantage of its natural open source architecture to customize as needed, running on Kubernetes. Now let's talk a little bit about hybrid environments. As part of our Voice of the Customer efforts, we spoke to many of our large customers and ISVs. And what we consistently heard was that they needed to operate a separate local management software in hybrid environments, and for good reasons. Some of these are detailed on this slide. Customers may have some reasons why they need to keep these workloads running close to them, whether that is data management, security, latency, or simply them trying to leverage investments they've made on their on-site infrastructure. Customers running hybrid cloud architecture will face some specific challenges. For instance, operating a separate local management software comes with a cost in the form of increased overhead and the need to learn and manage a separate toolkit and skill set. Now, as they face these challenges, customers want to simplify their operations by having one consistent toolset across cloud and on-premises. They want to leverage their existing investments in infrastructure or just run that investment until they have to retire it. In some cases, they have to deal with local compliance regulations, or sometimes because of the nature of the application, they might need to keep those within a certain desired latency, and that is related to the data gravity and proximity use case. Let's now zoom into why customers adopt containers. Containers have become a de facto standard for software publishing and to deliver a compelling experience for both software creators and software consumers. They are easy to create, easy to publish, and easy to consume. And so some of the benefits that containers allow customers are they allow them to improve velocity, to reduce their risk, and improve quality with uniform security across environments, as well as driving operational efficiency by allowing teams to focus on driving the business, in other words, building their applications, and not managing the infrastructure on top of which those applications run. Let's focus on why on-premises container management is a valid and important use case today. Now, the benefits of containers are universal. Whether you're running them in the cloud or you're running them on-prem, they are the same. Containers in general allow for reproducible builds, predictable behavior, faster iterations and deployment cycles, and a uniform deployment. Now, that is true in the cloud, that's true on-prem. And we know that the footprint of on-prem workloads, especially in the edge computing space, is growing rapidly. And on-premises computed on the data center perspective is not going to go away. And so this form factor of containers continues to be valuable for customers running the cloud, customers needing to run workloads in data centers, customers needing to run at the edge, or customers running hybrid, which is the use case for today. For that specific need, the landscape of services at AWS is very rich for hybrid deployments. Depending on the kind of orchestrator and hardware infrastructure you're using, you can choose between services on the Elastic Container Services, in this case running ECS on Outpost, or the service we will focus more on today is Amazon ECS Anywhere. On EKS or Elastic Kubernetes Services, you can also run that on Outpost, and you have EKS Anywhere. If you're running applications that are closer to the IoT use case, another service is very useful for containers is AWS IoT Greengrass. And then if you're running data management, storage, or processing on the rugged edge, you can look at the AWS Snowball family for services and hardware that you can use from AWS. And today, let's dive a little deeper on the list or landscape of container services at AWS that you can choose from. AWS delivers a complete portfolio, and their specific container services today are, as you can see on the screen. For application networking, you can choose AWS Cloud Map and AWS App Match. For management of containers, as we've covered before, you can choose between ECS or Amazon Elastic Container Services and Amazon Elastic Kubernetes Services or Amazon EKS. For hosting or the type of compute, so where the containers will be running, you can choose between Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud or Amazon EC2. And for a serverless container experience, you can choose AWS Fargate. Now, for storing your containers or where to both save your container images and pull your container images, you can use AWS Amazon Elastic Container Registry or Amazon EZR. Now let's take these deeper and get right into our solution for hybrid container platforms at ECS called Amazon ECS Anywhere. We launched Amazon ECS Anywhere in May of last year, which meant that ECS now helps customers standardize container management across all of their environments and enables an ability to add an on-premises environment to ECS with ECS Anywhere. ECS Anywhere simplifies and reduces the complexity for customers migrating container workloads to the cloud, as well as customers with applications that need to be running on-premises but will benefit from being centrally managed in the cloud. With ECS Anywhere, customers no longer need to operate separate local container management software such as Mesos or Kubernetes. And we also have been consistently launching new features. For example, in October 2021, we launched support for GPU workloads at the edge. And this is one use case that has seen early success, and we can cover a little bit more about it on our customer use cases. Now, within this hybrid environment market, there's a few key use cases that we always hear from customers. First, customers want to have a consistent experience when deploying container applications in AWS and on-premises in their data centers, which is to this particular challenge of how do I maintain a consistent experience in on-prem and the cloud. One example is an ISV who builds image rendering technology, moving from EC2 to ECS. And because they didn't have the ability to run certain workloads on-prem, they were not able to effectively compete for on-prem business at automotive companies. So again, that's the challenge, and the need is how can I provide this service with an on-prem footprint and a cloud footprint and compete in that space, in the hybrid space. Another example is a gaming software company that has a mix of legacy applications, which are not containerized, and they're running in the data centers. And they also have some applications which might be containerized as well, running in the cloud as well. And the goal for these companies many times is, hey, they want to modernize this on-premises applications and start a migration to the cloud. In some cases, they modernize the applications and they have to keep some of them on-prem, but they want to have this central management in the cloud. A second group of use cases we've seen are those customers who run containerized data processing workloads on edge locations, such as a factory floor machine, data aggregation workload. And they look to ECS Anywhere to solve the complexity of having this hybrid environment where data is being collected on premises, sometimes even processed on premises, but there's some of that data needs to move to the cloud to be used by other applications that are running in the cloud. And so they look to ECS Anywhere for that use case. Finally, we also hear from customers who are in industry verticals which are highly regulated, or those who want more control over how their infrastructure is managed. And they're very interested in having a consistent tool set which they can use for these applications. These customers often need solutions that do not need a lot of compute to run, support bare metal and Windows, which are all characteristics of ECS Anywhere. And as we move forward, we are looking to serve those needs for customers working with both hardware and managed service provider partners. There are three key use cases that we continue to hear from customers with ECS Anywhere today. First is one we've touched in detail today, is the hybrid environment where they have applications running both in the cloud and their on-premise data center. And customers in this use case are looking for this consistent experience when running workloads on-prem and the cloud. Kepler, for example, is a customer that's running ML workloads on-prem to optimize for costs. A second use case is that of modernization, which is customers having legacy applications running on-prem and looking to modernize and containerize them, and either for migration to the cloud or for maintaining, again, a hybrid architecture between some applications running in the cloud and on-prem. And they look to ECS Anywhere for this use case. An example is Gaggle, which is both modernizing applications and also doing a cloud migration for some of their workloads. And the third use case is IoT, where we see customers wanting to essentially have the data processing of their workloads running on edge locations. They want to leverage some of the edge compute they have in that on-prem physical footprint, but leverage the analytics capabilities or connect that data that is collected on-prem to applications running in the cloud. And so some customers have done this with ECS Anywhere, Yada, for example, by connecting some of the data collected for their IoT manufacturing machines to some analytics applications in the cloud. And they've done this with ECS Anywhere. With ECS Anywhere, we see customers benefiting because they can take advantage from a fully managed control plane. They get to use the same tools and APIs for all container-based applications, which means consistent tooling across on-prem and the cloud. And they get to run their applications in an on-prem environment and expand to the cloud when they choose to. So let's take a closer look around how ECS Anywhere works. First, the ECS agent installed on your on-prem server or VM will register a managed external instance and report that back to ECS for orchestration purposes. On the SSM or Systems Manager side, the SSM agent receives the activation key for this external instance from AWS Systems Manager in the cloud, as well as all the IAM role credentials related to that instance. And then it provides those credentials to the ECS agent on-prem. After that, the ECS agent on-prem provides all these task or credentials for any containers running as tasks on premises. Now, if you're not familiar with how ECS works, ECS, and in this case, ECS Anywhere, uses Docker Engine as a container runtime for an on-prem environment. And because all these container images and tasks have ECS role credentials with them, they'll seamlessly work with other AWS services since they have the appropriate IAM role credentials. And so you can connect this task to services like Amazon S3 in the cloud, CloudWatch, among others, and it will just work. And after you have an ECS agent installed on-prem as your ECS Anywhere external instance, ECS will continually pull data from this embedded ECS agent as well as AWS Systems Manager from the SSM agent. And so you get this fully managed solution, which is constantly being connected between the on-prem environment and the cloud. Now with ECS Anywhere, you can use this feature to manage your on-premise applications in the same AWS region where you manage other cloud applications using other types of compute like AWS Fargate or Amazon EC2. ECS makes it easy for you to orchestrate your applications across different compute types using the same toolkit. So you don't have to worry about, again, the separate local management software for your on-premises environment. You also don't have to worry about having different regions for your on-prem. You can manage all of your applications, whether on-prem, in the cloud, or hybrid, in one single pane of glass with ECS. Finally, with ECS and ECS Anywhere, you are able to scale and orchestrate your on-premises applications to thousands of different sites, getting to manage them all in one orchestration platform with ECS. And so the potential scale of your on-prem and hybrid deployments is backed by the ability to scale out containers at AWS with ECS. For the final section of this presentation, let's go through some of ECS Anywhere customers and their success stories since we've launched. Let's first take a look at 3DI. 3DI is a Toronto-based company that deploys, maintains, and monitors video surveillance systems. For 3DI, most of the systems are running on their customers' own data centers. And so they had to decide to automate and streamline tasks associated with the installation and management of those workloads in the cloud. They were able to leverage ECS Anywhere to make it easier and offload much of the manual heavy lifting of this installation process of their workloads and on-premise data center while leveraging their existing Amazon ECS infrastructure. Next, let's look at another company who's finding value in hybrid deployment. TempestX is a sports data company providing solutions to gather, process, and consume data in new and innovative ways. They've partnered with premier global sports leagues like the NFL, broadcasters, and world-class athletes to deliver cutting-edge solutions. Now, this customer was already using AWS for its cloud deployments and was trying to find a way to leverage their specialized on-premises hardware for video transcoding in a hybrid deployment. With ECS Anywhere, they were able to improve performance through a hybrid solution while keeping a simple standard workflow and toolkit in the cloud and on-premises. Let's take a look at Siemens. Now, Siemens, which is a brand most of us are familiar with, is a manufacturing technology company. They decided to leverage ECS Anywhere because of its single management control plane, which created consistency for them in managing containerized applications running at locations but managed in the cloud. This helps them provide real-time insights into factory floors for their customers. Now, this use case is a combination of the desire for consistency between the experience of managing applications in the cloud and on-prem, as well as the IoT use case for leveraging edge compute and data processed at the edge for applications that might be running or using that data in the cloud. And finally, we have CyberAgent, which is an internet services company based in Japan that focuses on internet advertising, gaming, and media services. They decided to leverage ECS Anywhere to benefit from the managed control plane to orchestrate their containers, run tasks, and improve efficiency in their operations for all of their hybrid footprint. And with that, I want to say thank you very much, and we'll now turn it over to Q&A.